One of the videos presented shows a scuffle between the two that night. The prosecution says that is where the firearm is captured on video.
Mr. Efron will tell you that during the period of time that they are off screen is when the defendant first produces that semi-automatic pistol.
They also played a video and audio of what they say is the moment Rocky fired the weapon.
Mr. Efron will tell you that at the time the shooting was happening, he immediately felt a burning sensation to his hand, which led him to believe that these were graze wounds from one of the bullets that was shot.
Asa P. Rocky is facing the fight of his life, a courtroom battle that could see him locked away for 24 years. The Grammy-nominated rapper, born Rakeem Mayers, has turned down a plea deal that would have landed him just 180 days behind bars. Instead, he is taking his chances at trial, hoping to clear his name. But as the case unfolds, the stakes continue to rise. If convicted, Rocky could find himself in the same notorious prison as hip-hop mogul Diddy, adding another explosive layer to the already shocking trial. The case stems from a 2021 altercation in Hollywood where Rocky is accused of firing a gun at his former friend, Celeb Efron. Prosecutors argue that Rocky acted recklessly, while the defense insists there is no solid evidence tying him to a weapon. In a surprising twist, Rocky's legal team claims that the firearm was a prop, used only as a visual element, in a music video. Meanwhile, surveillance footage and witness testimony paint conflicting pictures of what really happened that night. With the trial now in full swing, the courtroom has turned into a battleground of narratives. Prosecutors are pushing hard to portray Rocky as a dangerous figure who acted out of aggression. The defense, however, highlights inconsistencies in the prosecution's case, arguing that Efron himself collected the shell casings, raising questions about the credibility of the evidence. No weapon has been recovered, and ballistics reports remain inconclusive. Beyond the legal drama, the trial is making waves for its cultural implications. Hip-hop fans and industry insiders are debating whether this is a case of justice or yet another example of the system targeting black artists. With Diddy already behind bars, the possibility of Rocky joining him at the Metropolitan Detention Center has sparked intense discussions about celebrity privilege, accountability, and racial disparities in the justice system, adding even more. Intrigue, Rihanna has been a steady presence in the courtroom, standing by Rocky's side. Some legal analysts suggest that her presence could influence the jury, whether consciously or not. The prosecution, aware of Rihanna's impact, even questioned potential jurors about whether they would be swayed by her attendance. It's clear that this case is about more than just legal arguments. It's about perception, power, and public opinion. Several key figures have emerged throughout the trial, each playing a critical role in how the case unfolds. Judge Lisa Carmichael, known for her no-nonsense approach, has been firm.
Before jury selection began today in L.A., A$AP Rocky turned down a final prosecution plea offer of 180 days in jail if he would plead guilty to one of his 2 felony counts. The Grammy-nominated rapper, whose real name is Rakeem Mayers, is accused of firing a gun at a former friend outside a Hollywood hotel in 2021. He has pleaded not guilty, and his lawyer says Mayers is looking forward to clearing his name. If convicted, Mayers could get a maximum sentence of 24 years in prison. Opening statements could come as soon as tomorrow.
I was the warden at the Metropolitan Detention Center from the spring of 2007 to the late fall of 2009. So I was there for a little over 2.5 years as warden. So I'm very familiar with the facility. What I would have expected her to experience when she entered the facility was, first of all, she would have come in full restraints, which would have included leg irons, a belly chain to a hat to attach handcuffs, and the handcuffs will be attached to the belly chain to immobilize her hands. She would be strip searched. She would be processed in terms of fingerprint, photographs. She would be asked a battery of questions relevant to security and safety. She would undergo a cursory medical exam, fill out a multitude of forms that the government requires, and then be assigned to a cell.
Do you think her presence there had any impact, especially when it comes to the jury? No.
And he sips tea.
I mean, let's put it this way. You've got Rihanna. She's a big name in one way, shape, or form or another. Either as her name alone, being the partner of A$AP Rocky, or the fact that she is the mother of his children. I've seen, at least in some cases, not the high-profile cases, when you have the mother of the children in there, jurors do sometimes contemplate, hey, if I put this person in jail for X amount of years, what's that going to happen to the family? We also know during jury selection, at least one juror did contemplate that her presence may have an impact on the case. And I don't think it's coincidental, at least at this point, that she showed up specifically when the main complainant in the case was testifying. You can read the tea leaves how you want there, but it does seem to have some kind of impact as to why she was there.
He did. He absolutely did. Because keep in mind here, we do not have the actual weapon. The shell casings that were allegedly picked up at the scene were picked up by the victim, Terrell, and handed into police. And then the videos that we see, we haven't seen them all. We've only seen a little sample of them. The question is, you do see a scuffle, but you don't exactly, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so there's a lot of wiggle room here for a possible acquittal here.
Been maintaining order in the courtroom while allowing both sides ample opportunity to present their arguments. Lead prosecutor Daniel Whitmore has built his case on circumstantial evidence, relying heavily on witness testimonies and surveillance footage to argue Rocky's intent. On the defense side, high-profile attorney Marcus Langston has meticulously picked apart the prosecution's claims, casting doubt on the reliability of the evidence presented. The trial has also seen the involvement of key witnesses, including security personnel from the Hollywood hotel where the alleged incident occurred, forensic experts testifying on ballistics reports, and Efron himself, whose credibility has been challenged at multiple turns. Additionally, Rocky's inner circle, including fellow artists and industry executives, have come forward in support of the rapper, asserting that his character and past behavior do not align with the charges brought against him. Among the key witnesses, Efron's close associate, Devin Caldwell, has also testified, claiming to have seen a confrontation but refusing to confirm whether a weapon was discharged. Caldwell's history with both Rocky and Efron adds complexity to the case, as he himself has had legal troubles in the past. Meanwhile, Maya Stokes, a former music producer who has worked with Rocky, has provided insight into the use of Prop P. Guns in hip-hop visuals, lending credibility to the defense's argument that Rocky did not have a real firearm. On the prosecution's side, Detective Adrian Walker, the lead investigator in the case, has faced scrutiny for inconsistencies in his reports. Walker has insisted that evidence, albeit circumstantial, supports the claim that Rocky fired a gun, but under cross-examination, he struggled to provide definitive proof. Court analysts have noted that the lack of direct evidence could be a crucial factor in the jury's decision. Adding further complications, jury selection itself has been contentious, with defense attorneys arguing that the selected jurors lack diversity and could be biased against Rocky. This has led to heated exchanges in the courtroom, with Langston filing motions to challenge specific jury selections. Further fueling the media frenzy, former LAPD ballistics expert Dr. Elliot Grayson was brought in to review forensic evidence. His analysis suggested that the trajectory of the alleged shots did not align with the prosecution's claims, throwing yet another wrench into their argument. Meanwhile, journalist Vanessa Cole, a seasoned crime reporter covering the trial, has drawn attention to the case's racial and cultural implications, sparking further debate on mainstream media platforms. In the midst of the legal chaos, Rocky's longtime friend and fellow rapper Jaden J.D. Harris has publicly denounced the trial as a targeted attack on hip-hop artists. Harris, known for his activism within the industry, has used his platform to rally public support, pushing the narrative that hip-hop figures are disproportionately scrutinized by the justice system. His statements have gained traction on social media, creating an even wider rift between those who believe Rocky is innocent and those convinced of his guilt. At the same time, Diddy's legal team has been closely watching the case, with some speculating that its outcome could have indirect repercussions on the hip-hop mogul's ongoing legal troubles. If Rocky is convicted, it could set a precedent that influences future high-profile cases involving music industry figures. Adding to the courtroom tension, public relations strategist Olivia Townsend has been working behind the scenes, managing Rocky's media image and shaping public perception. Townsend, known for handling high-profile celebrity crises, has been working closely with Rocky's team to ensure that narratives in the press lean favorably toward him. Meanwhile, community activist and civil rights attorney Damon Reese has entered the conversation, arguing that this trial is a reflection of systemic injustice within the legal system, further amplifying the case's importance beyond just Rocky himself. On the prosecution side, Efron's longtime friend Malik Thompson has provided testimony backing up Efron's claims, describing Rocky's alleged temper and history of confrontations. However, the defense has questioned Thompson's credibility, pointing to inconsistencies in his statements and his own past run-ins with the law. As national attention intensifies, high-profile celebrities and politicians have begun voicing their opinions. Senator Elaine Porter, a known advocate for prison reform, has weighed in, suggesting that Rocky's trial highlights deeper issues of racial disparity in sentencing. Meanwhile, veteran hip-hop legend Marshall M. Flo Roberts has publicly sided with Rocky, claiming that the system has always been rigged against black artists, further fueling the public discourse surrounding the case. Adding yet another layer of complexity, forensic psychologist Dr. Julia Reynolds has been called to analyze Rocky's behavior and mental state at the time of the incident. Her testimony could play a crucial role in determining whether Rocky's actions were premeditated or a response to perceived danger. Meanwhile, renowned entertainment lawyer Samuel Briggs has been closely monitoring the case, warning that the verdict could set a new precedent for how the legal system handles high-profile artists. Further complicating the proceedings, former prosecutor and current legal analyst Peter Wexler has raised concerns about how celebrity trials can be influenced by media pressure and public perception. Meanwhile, defense investigator Karen Mills has been conducting her own inquiry, gathering evidence that may contradict the prosecution's timeline of events. As the jury deliberates, another unexpected voice enters the conversation. Nina Castillo, a former district attorney turned legal ethics specialist. She argues that the case exposes fundamental flaws in the justice system, particularly in how high-profile cases are handled differently than those of everyday citizens. Meanwhile, tech analyst Raymond Hatcher has identified the role of digital forensics, suggesting that metadata discrepancies in video evidence could raise serious doubts about the prosecution's claims. As the trial progresses, the outcome remains uncertain. Will Rocky's defense be able to dismantle the prosecution's case, or will the jury see his actions as criminal? With 24 years on the line, the stakes couldn't be higher. The verdict in this case will not only determine...
Known for its fashion style and flair, hip-hop star A$AP Rocky is now facing years behind bars, potentially. His trial is what's trending in true crime this morning as the 36-year-old turned down a sweetheart deal on the eve of his jury selection. Rocky's real name is Rakeem Mayers, and he declined a final offer from Los Angeles prosecutors to spend 180 days in jail. The agreement also included a 7-year suspended sentence and 3 years of probation, but he said no way. The Grammy-nominated rapper is accused of shooting a former friend of his near a Hollywood hotel back in 2021. And so now, if he is convicted, he's looking at a maximum sentence of 24 years.
I know how I feel that day from my knuckles and all around here. That's why. You know what I'm saying?
First of all, it's highly problematic for the prosecution that the alleged victim finds the evidence. So the police are there. Police are crime scene people. They're going around the crime scene. They don't find any shell casings. But it just so happens hours later that the alleged victim says, gee, look what I found. So that's highly problematic. Also, we don't know if they searched A$AP Rocky's house. Can the prosecution show that this guy even has guns? Has he ever had a 9mm? Does he have some other type of firearm? So I think that whole thing is problematic. Second thing, this whole called ambush with the new theory that he had a prop gun. The defense doesn't have to disclose their theory. Yes, they have to disclose witnesses, just like the prosecution, but this whole idea of ambush is nonsense. The defense doesn't have to say a word. The defense could have a theory one day and a second theory the next day. So this whole idea of ambush, yeah, it's good PR. It's something that you're going to give to the media, but it's nonsense.
And what A$AP's attorney has conceded to in opening arguments, he claims that A$AP was carrying a prop gun, that it was not a real gun, but a prop gun that he was using because he felt that he was under threat. There are surveillance videos from different angles. It shows a scuffle. It shows someone who looks like A$AP Rocky holding a gun behind his back. But again, he's claiming that's a prop gun. Keep in mind that when a search warrant was served on Rocky's home, they did find weapons. He does have concealed carry licenses. However, those weapons don't match the shell casings from
But the conditions of the prison are far from homey, notoriously described as, quote, dreadful, as one judge put it. Some on the bench have even moved away from sending nonviolent defendants there. In April, a group of detainees that prosecutors said were MS-13 gang members in court documents stabbed an inmate 44 times in an attack caught on camera. 2 shivs were recovered from the attack. You see them here. The victim survived. And in the last 3 years alone, 4 inmates have died by suicide. And violence is not the only issue. Accusations of medical neglect, staffing shortages, smuggling of drugs, some allegedly facilitated by employees.
I believe the reports, and obviously Diddy is someone who's rich and famous and has lived a life of luxury for many years, and now he's in federal prison during the holidays. So this isn't someone who's a hardened criminal who has spent a lot of time in custody. So the fact that he's spending Christmas and New Year's and future holidays in prison is probably finally getting to him. So I'm not surprised that
now this afternoon he was scheduled to go before a judge here and have a hearing in one of the many civil cases that he's facing. But we just learned a short time ago that at the very last minute, that hearing naming Sean Diddy Combs in another legal issue with another legal issue in another civil suit was postponed at the very last minute with no future date scheduled and no explanation. This is just one of the many questions, growing number of questions in need of answers. Now, last Thursday at the MDC, where he is currently incarcerated, my sources tell me that Diddy was taken from MDC, the Metropolitan Detention Center, about 10 at night to a nearby hospital for an MRI on his knee. Skeptics thought there must have been a fight or he was attacked at the prison that's considered one of the most dangerous in America.
You know, we got a little bit of a glimpse of it from that former warden who spoke with TMZ talking about what the daily routine is here, including a 6 a.m. wake-up call for every inmate. There's 1,600 inmates that are housed here. He will be made to make his bed, mop his floor, keep his cell clean, and he will get 3 meals a day, adding up to 1,800 calories. That's all they get. The list of grievances, though, here at the MDC is long. There was a man here who was stabbed to death at the jail at 37 years old over the summer. Rampant violence, poor conditions, staffing shortages, lockdowns. That inmate that was murdered last year and the detainees who have been held at the MDC Brooklyn have complained for years about rampant violence, horrific conditions, staffing shortages, barred from leaving their cells for visits, showers, or exercise. Legal experts say that Diddy's trial on these serious charges on the litany of sex trafficking charges will not be anytime soon, most likely, which is why his attorneys are continuing to fight to get him released immediately.
But no other race is affected like this when you think in terms of gun violence. No other race of people is turning the guns on each other in the manner and at the rate of which we're doing. And it's an epidemic. And right now, it lies at the feet of the music industry. Because we have a whole genre.
Evidence will make clear that Relly is trying to leverage a fabricated story to extract money from Rocky.
There was a major blow to the defense on the eve of trial, and it was a ballistics report that prosecutors say can link Rocky to the actual bullet casings that were found by Relly on the scene. Before, there was no link. There had been no gun recovered. What prosecutors say is that during the search of Rocky's home, a 9mm magazine was found, and that they knew he owned a .43 Glock. The ballistics report says it's likely that a .43 Glock actually shot the bullets that would be consistent with these bullet casings. So now the defense has to pivot. They're going to use expert testimony And they're going to argue that that report is baloney. That report is not accurate, and it's based on a faulty...
Grammy-nominated rapper is accused of shooting at a former friend near a Hollywood hotel back in 2021. Rocky's real name is Rakeem Mayers, and he declined a plea offer to spend 180 days in jail ahead of his trial. He faces a maximum sentence of 24 years in prison if he's convicted. Let's take a look at the jury breakdown. We've got 12 jurors who are going to hear this case. 5 of them are men, 7 of them are women. According to TMZ, none of the jurors, including the 4 alternates, are African American. None of them. And we know the defense was taking issue with the pool earlier this week. Now, the defense team plans to call witnesses to testify that the alleged firearm seen on security footage, alleged to be carried by Rocky, was a starter pistol he carried as a prop, pointing to why no shell casings were found at the scene. The surveillance footage is grainy of the actual shooting, maybe hard to identify the shooters wearing a dark hoodie, hard to see the face, and we know that the alleged victim collected the spent cartridge casings himself and brought them to police, which could prove to be problematic. So if you saw my opening statement, you're going to know what we're asking. We're wondering, is this trial going to be a stinker? In other words, is this a bad case for the prosecution? Maybe, maybe not. Let's see what our power panel thinks. Let's bring back in criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Joe Tamburino, and welcome in domestic violence expert and former law enforcement officer Claudia King, and media personality and artist Head Crack. Good morning to you all. Okay, is this one a stinker? Ladies first, Claudia King, what do you say?
It definitely sounds like it, Julie, because the prosecution made that offer of 180 days in jail. To me, that shows that they don't have a ton of confidence in this case if they were going to let it go for just 180 days. It sounds like the video is blurry. It's hard to tell if it's really A$AP Rocky. There's the issue with the shell casings and the fact that the victim turned them over and collected them allegedly. So I just see this being very problematic for the prosecution.
Yeah, great points. Claudia, thank you. Great point about the plea deal. When you have such a sweetheart deal, could mean that, you know, the case stinks. Head Crack, I want to go to you next, please. Your thoughts on this? Is this a stinker or maybe a solid case?
It sounds a little sloppy, and like what she was saying, if they're gonna offer you 180 days, which is way sweeter than 24 possible years in prison, and you decide to, I like our odds on this, and I'm just gonna go for it because we know what we know. I think the defense probably feels like they have a very fortified, defense on their side that'll be able to prove that A$AP Rocky wasn't trying to really hurt this man, but just scare him off, fend him off, or whatever. And it's just so problematic from the prosecution.
He snitched.
Oh yeah, he snitched.
I'm just playing. Nah, but they need to beat his ass. Hey, what's his name? A$AP Rally?
A$AP Rally.
He like my ass.
Not sure.
I'm beating his ass for Rocky when I catch him, man. Cause bro, you went back, gang. You locked the door, bro. Like what? Like you went back and got shells off the. Yeah, this. Oh yeah. Hey, this like dude in Menace Society. He like. Hey, this like Kane beating your ass. Nigga, fuck Kane. Wait till the police get a hold of this tape. It was like nigga his ass, motherfucker. Wait till they get a load of these shells. Get your bitch ass. Hey, folk, I don't know you A$AP Rally, folk, but you just snitched on folks, and all folks trying to do is wear designer and be with his famous girlfriend, folk. I live the same life as him.
This story is far from over, and as new developments emerge, one thing is certain. This trial is one of the most significant legal battles in hip-hop history.